This is my bicycle, my new other bicycle. Don't have a name for it yet. It's a giant Sedona model. This is a mountain bicycle. A little bit more effort to push this thing. A little bit less comfortable, but still very fun. This is Highway 93, Golf Course Road. I'm in Hamilton, Montana, and I'm going to take my bicycle up the Skalkaho Highway a couple miles just to see how that goes. So when I'm just bicycling around my neighborhood, I go on these like one-lane roads, basically a residential alleyway, because the larger streets have more traffic. So right now I'm just riding down this little one-lane road. So I'm on another lane. This is actually pretty close to my house. You can actually see my house if it wasn't behind some trees. There's another country lane, and from here it'll all be little roads like this. So this is kind of difficult for 3 reasons. One is I've bicycled since Corvallis. It's been 6 months. I've been pretty active, but haven't been pushing pedals. Second, that's a thick tire, more friction to overcome, more work. Third thing is, even though this road looks flat, and it is flat compared to other roads we'll be doing later, this is actually a bit of a climb. It's just a subtle one. So there's more effort there. Not a factor. A week ago I had thinner air. I was actually up higher in San Jose. So it's not the elevation that's bothering me here. So I don't know if it's real clear from the footage. Where I am now is pretty much still residential and suburban, by the standards of where we are. Pretty soon we will kind of reach an end of that area. But right now, even though you can see there's cows and stuff, a lot of the farms here are hobby farms, and a lot of these are just residential houses for people who work in Hamilton or even work in Missoula or are retired. Oh, the luthier is still there. Awesome. So at the end of this road, we'll be turning onto the Skalkaho Highway, and that's in about a mile, a little bit less than a mile. So right here, this is Skalkaho Creek again. We're maybe half a mile upstream of where we were yesterday. There's more of Skalkaho Creek, and here's the bridge. And pretty soon, just ahead, we're going to join Skalkaho Highway, and that parallels the creek and crosses it a couple of times. So here's the Skalkaho Road. I call it Skalkaho Highway. Also, I believe it's Highway 38. It goes that direction. And I will probably not be taking much footage because I will be bicycling. Also, the part behind me, my legs started feeling okay, then I started feeling tired again. And I think I have from here about 2 miles to go. Indeed, right there we have milepost 2, and we're going to milepost 4, so 2 more miles. There's actually pretty regular mileposts on this highway for the next dozen miles. Right here, which incidentally we're at milepost 3, it was a long mile. We're crossing the Skalkaho again, and I'm trying to think, I think this is actually the last time we cross it, but it will go from close to the road to further out. So we have a mile more to ride. A beautiful creek today. This is Shoshone Loop, after Uto-Aztec people related to the Paiute. Did not actually live here, but they live close, as far as I know. And this is a dirt and gravel road, and this is at about milepost 4, and this is the Skalkaho. So after coming all this way, I'm going to turn over, I'm going to stop and see the stream. There's a little pathway here. As far as I know, this is not an official park, but I've been coming here for years, and there are some like park-like facilities. There's 2 picnic tables. So as far as I know, it is open to the public. There's also no motor vehicles, which is not me. But the fact that I have that means that they know people are coming here. So this is a little bit overgrown the last time I remember it, which honestly it was 4 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago. But there is a bench there, so it looks like this is still public. And probably no reason to walk my bike with me. I don't think anybody's going to steal it here. So there you can see there is some snow, or this is ice. This has been melted and refrozen many times before we get to this point. So even though it's been warm for a while, over the long winter, the snow and ice really build up, and so it can persist for a while, but this does look like it's on its last legs, so to speak. The water is still probably very cold. It's probably a degree or two above freezing at most, and it will stay cold for a while. So in general, that water is very pure and clear. Does have a green tint to it, and as we've seen in other places, that's related to jealousy? No, that's related to rock that's ground down and small particles of rock, as far as I know. So a geological point, you can't really see the Sapphires Mountains because they're behind those hills, which are the last foothills of the Sapphires. The Sapphires are in this Rocky Mountain chain, but unlike the Bitterroot Mountains they're actually much older. And I believe they're Cambrian or Precambrian origin. This isn't a geology show, but they're old and they're more eroded. And for practical purposes, they also, they're not covered with ice and snow as long because they are smaller. I'm kind of tired and kind of babbling, my apologies. So, as opposed to those mountains, which will stay covered with snow up into July, the Sapphires will be melting quicker. That's also why this creek is like flowing stronger quicker, because it's already getting a lot of its snow melt. I believe that's the simple way to explain it. I could just sit and stare at this water for a long time. A couple things to note. We do have an evergreen tree there. That's I think that's actually lodgepole pine, not ponderosa, but I'm not sure. So we do have pine trees along here. Most of these trees are riparian deciduous trees. A lot of willow and a lot of cottonwood, which are related trees, of course. And as you can see, everything here is still dormant, with the exception of these rosettes of mullein. And actually, we're about 200 feet above where I live, probably, so things are even more dormant here. And as spring progresses, you'll actually see, depending on the elevation, when things start branching out and budding out. And also, there's not much wildlife here today. Most animals are dormant. But if you look carefully in this location, even though there's just a scrap of land with houses over there, along this creek, I have seen many different animals from time to time. I saw a family of mustelids, which are not common to see. So there's a lot to see here, and obviously this is just basically a place I rest when I'm going on a longer ride, which we will hopefully see soon further up into that mountain range. But even being just a small scrap of land, it's a tranquil place. There's some stuff to see. The water is beautiful, and as we go into spring, the wildlife and plants and flowers we see here will be beautiful. But for now, this is just a introduction to the Skalkaho Creek, and I'm going to get back on my bicycle and I'm going to ride back a different way than when I came. Now, when I said that there was wildlife here, there's a sign of it. And from here, I can't tell what that is. I can't even tell if that's an herbivore or carnivore skeleton. Herbivore, like a deer, would be my biggest guess, but I'm not going to pick it up and rotate it around. And it's missing the lower jaw, and I can't see if there's any teeth there. And that might have actually been carried here by a carnivore, like a coyote, maybe even a puma could have brought that there from a kill, or it could have been washed down or carried, I guess. But there is wildlife here. So I actually have a sign that says storage low. Can't take too much more footage. So this is Shoshone Loop, and I'm going back down this way and then back down on parallel roads to the way I came up that are gravel roads. And the reason I'm going on the way down is because on the way down, it'll be less effort. On the way up, it could have been a lot of effort. So basically the way back will be the way here, only a little bit more interesting for me. And I'm kind of in a hurry, so I might take less this time, take less footage. Now that we've gotten a distance away, you can look up, and those are the sapphires. And that there is the valley of the Skalkaho, which will be going further up in the coming weeks. And as you can see, even though those are pretty high mountains, the peaks are between 6,000 and 8,000 feet. Right now we're at about 3,500 feet, so another few thousand feet above us. They are kind of a little bit more gentle and rolling than like the sheer walls of the Bitterroots. So that is where we will be heading, and those are the waters that feed Skalkaho. And as you can see, that peak, which that might be Third Point, not sure. That's still very much covered in snow. That actually will be snowy until July. So here we're crossing Skalkaho Highway. This is where I bicycled up, and we're crossing the creek, and then we're going onto Fish Hatchery Road. So Fish Hatchery Road here is a mud road, I guess mud and gravel. It's not soupy at this time. In general, like in Oregon, this road would be a muddy morass, but in Montana, where it's a little bit drier, even after winter, it's okay to ride on. So 2 things to point out here. One is that on the way up, I was feeling like, did I forget to bicycle? What is wrong with my legs? And on the way down, I realized that I was gaining quite a bit of altitude. And so on the way down, it's a lot easier. That's a relief for me in 2 ways. And then the other thing is that I don't know if this is evident, but it did get a lot colder, and there's like pellets of ice coming down, not hail, not snow, something else. And that's something to be aware of in Montana. And even though I was aware, I kind of forgot how dramatically the temperature can drop, how quickly and how late in the year. It is late March, but it is still winter here, and there's snow coming up over the mountains there. Okay, I'm going to stop recording and focus on getting home. I more or less live at the end of this road, and so I wanted to give some concluding thoughts. So one reason I made this video, and while I'll be making other, similar videos about bicycling around Montana, I'm sure there's a lot of videos about bicycling in Montana, but a lot of them are probably like super exciting clips of people grinding wicked stunts like down rocky trails in the mountains, which is cool if you have the time and money and you're not in your 40s. So one of the reasons for a video like this is I want to show what the natural experience is of bicycling down country roads, mountain roads with some scenery, but where you're still maybe having to deal with traffic and dealing with normal cyclist things. So that's kind of why I want to show the full spectrum of the experience, and hopefully that's helpful to people who are curious about it and maybe curious about bicycling in general. Anyway, so I'm going to go home and warm up.